Assalamu alaikum. I'm Lutfun Nahar Tonni. Welcome to my presentation. And my presentation topic is beer preparation. Here is my content. So at first, what is beer? Beer is a carbonated fermented alcoholic beverage that is produced by the starch that is converted into simple sugars, and after that the oat is produced, then it is fermented, and then we get the beer. And it is made from malted cereal grains, especially barley, and it is flavored with hops and typically contains less than 5% alcohol content. Beer preparation process. The process actually starts from the barley that is melted by the melting process, then it is milling, and the water is added in that step, and after that it is mashed, and then lautering, and then it is go for boiling. And this boiling step, hops are added, and after that it go for the fermentation, and this fermentation process actually takes place by the yeast, and in that process flavors and spices are also added, and after that conditioning, filtering and packaging occurs one by one. So here we can see the steps actually: A1, A2, A3, A4, B, C, D, and A1 to A4 is the oat production process. Okay. Then what is melting? Melting is the process by which we get the malt from the grain, and it is actually three-step process that starts from the barley. This barley is steeped in water, and it actually gets hydrated, and then it is germinated and generate the enzymes that is very important for the beer production. And after that the drying and curing occurred, and then sometimes it is roasted deeply if dark beer is to be produced, and after that we get the malt. And next is milling. Milling is the physical crushing of malt kernels into smaller particles in preparation for mashing and lautering, and this process actually creates the necessary surface area on the malted grains endosperm, and then it go for the mashing and lautering. Mashing is again steeping the malt in hot water, not the boiling point but in hot water for approximately an hour, and this activates enzymes in the malt that actually convert the starches into simple sugars, and the water content or the liquid content with that sugar, the sticky, the sweet, the liquid portion is called the oat, and the separation process of the oat from the mash is known as the lautering process, and after that it is boiling. So then this oat is transferred into a brewing kettle, and it is the hops are added, and it is boiled for about 1 to 2.5 hours, and the bitterness and aroma is in the beer is contributed by the hops solids, as it contains alpha isoacids and other polyphenols. And after this boiling process we can add some more hops that can impart a good aroma into the beer. And after this brewing process the spent hops are removed, and the oat is cooled to around 17 degrees Celsius before being transferred to the fermentation vessel. Then finally it goes for the fermentation process, and fermentation process is the process where we add yeast, and the yeast actually is the sugar from the malt, and it produces ethanol, alcohol and carbon dioxide. And this fermentation is of two types: bottom fermentation and top fermentation, and it is based on the location of the yeast in the fermentation vessel. If the yeast located the bottom of the fermentation vessel, it is bottom fermentation, and if it is located on the top of the fermentation vessel, it is called the top fermentation. And the bottom fermentation it actually takes place by bottom yeast, that is Saccharomyces pastorius, at lower temperature. It's about 7 to 12 degrees centigrade for longer period, and it is actually done by two steps: primary fermentation and another one is secondary fermentation. And this secondary fermentation is the maturing or aging or ripening stage, and finally it produces the lager type beers, and after that it is filtered. And in case of top fermentation, it takes place at higher temperature. It's about 18 to 25 degrees centigrade by top fermenting yeast like Saccharomyces cerevisiae at 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, and it also consists of two stages. One is primary fermentation and second one is the maturation stage. And maturation stage actually lasts for only a few days, and it produces ale type beers. And after that, the last stage is conditioning, filtering and packaging. Conditioning is how a beer is carbonated, and it can drastically affect the final outcome of the entire brewing process. So it is done after fermentation, and after that it is filtering again. Actually this filtration is used throughout the brewing process, but in this stage it is also important, and this filtration actually removes the solids from the liquid through a porous medium, and the particle size, range of the particle removal size is from molecular level of 1 micrometer to 1 centimeter. And after that it is packaged into bottles or cans, and well sealed bottle protected. Actually a well sealed bottle can protect the beer, because the oxygen actually affect the beer, so that's why it can protect the beer from the oxygen. And most of the time the beer bottles are made from brown, green and clear glasses, because they protect the beer from the sunlight. And sometimes it may or may not be pasteurized, and because pasteurization stabilizes the beer but also affects the taste, so sometimes they are pasteurized and sometimes they are not. Actually it varies in different parts of the world, like drought beer is more commonly sold unpasteurized beer. So that's all for my presentation, and here is some references from where I collected all of that information. So for more information or more clarification you can check there. Okay, so thank you.